Nobody will hear you cry when I tell you how useless you are, Dominic murmured, leaning over the conference table in the deserted office. His voice carried that rare kind of low intensity that somehow rings louder than a scream. The digital clock on the wall showed 7:30 a.m. Outside, the sun had barely risen, casting stretched-out shadows through the blinds. I sat absolutely still, my resume folder gripped in my hands like a barrier. This performance review had been arranged at this brutal hour for one purpose alone. "I've been waiting months for this," he went on, tapping a thick folder marked with my name. "Every slip-up, every shortcoming, all recorded." His grin deepened as he reached for the folder. Then the main doors burst open. The echo of several footsteps carried through the empty workspace. Dominic's head jerked up, his expression twisting from smugness to bewilderment. Allah, the HR director, marched in with determination, accompanied by two members of the security team. Without looking at Dominic, she walked straight to me and set a sealed envelope in front of me. "Open it, Lana," she said softly. When I did, Dominic's expression shifted in a way I'll never erase, from certainty to panic in a single heartbeat. But before I tell you what followed, you need to understand everything that brought us here. The 6 months of psychological warfare that pushed me to my limit, the proof I gathered, and most importantly, why what happened next reshaped not just my life, but the entire company. My name is Lana Ashford. I've always been the one who follows the rules, the dependable one, the fixer. Before any of this, I had led our company's most successful product launch in 5 years. That achievement earned me a transfer to our flagship department, where I first crossed paths with Dominic. From day one, something felt wrong. Dominic greeted me with a rigid handshake and words that sounded supportive on the surface, yet carried a coldness that made me wonder if I imagined it. "Glad to have you with us. Your reputation speaks for itself," he had said, his eyes assessing me as though I were an inconvenient problem. The first couple of weeks appeared ordinary. I learned the department workflow, met my teammates, Vader, Archer, and Pax, each oddly restrained around Dominic. They were warm enough when he wasn't present, but the whole atmosphere shifted whenever he stepped inside. Conversations stopped. People suddenly found interest in tiny choices in my reports, details too small to argue over. "Are you certain about this projection, or did you double-check these numbers?" Always in front of others. Always with that faint edge of doubt in his tone. By week 3, he began excluding me from key emails, and I only discovered it when Vader mentioned a meeting I was expected to attend. "Didn't you get the thread about the quarterly planning session?" she asked, confused when I had no idea what she meant. "Must have been an oversight," Dominic claimed when I approached him privately. "I'll make sure you're included next time." But his eyes told a different story. Cold, calculating, gauging my reaction. I did what I thought was right. Worked harder, arrived earlier, stayed later, triple-checked every document. Then month 2 changed everything. During a team presentation where I introduced a new efficiency protocol that could save the company significant resources, Dominic interrupted. "That's actually based on Archer's framework from last year," he declared. 20 pairs of eyes moved to me, watching my confusion. Archer looked just as puzzled but stayed silent. "I developed this independently," I said calmly, though I'd be happy to compare it to Archer's work. "Let's move on," Dominic cut in, dismissing the topic. After the meeting, I searched the archives for Archer's supposed framework. It didn't exist. Later that week, I overheard Dominic speaking to our division VP. "Lana has potential but needs close supervision. Her attention to detail isn't what her previous manager suggested." The VP nodded, glancing at me through the glass conference room wall. The damage was done. Things escalated. My access to certain systems was limited due to supposed security updates. Projects I initiated were reassigned. My suggestions in meetings were acknowledged, then instantly reframed as someone else's, usually Dominic's. When our department prepared the quarterly manufacturing quality assessment, I spotted alarming patterns in our newest production line. The failure rate showed statistical anomalies that hinted at potential consumer safety risks. I documented my findings and brought them to Dominic. "I'll review these," he said, taking my analysis. 2 days later, the final report appeared. My sections were radically altered, the warning indicators erased, replaced with softened language hiding the problem. When I questioned him privately, Dominic's answer chilled me. "You're overreacting to normal variations," he said. "This isn't your previous department. We have different standards here." When I pushed again, his tone hardened. "The report is final. I did something then that would later save me. I kept both versions. I saved everything. Original reports, emails, meeting recordings when permitted." I didn't know why yet, but something deep inside urged me to build a paper trail. The situation worsened quickly. Dominic began calling me into his office for coaching sessions that were nothing but criticism. My performance, my communication style, even my professional appearance became targets. "Your presentation style makes people uncomfortable," he insisted, though feedback from colleagues suggested the opposite. The isolation tactics intensified. Team lunches happened without warning. Critical decisions were made in spur-of-the-moment hallway conversations I was never included in. When major clients visited, I was assigned sudden urgent tasks that kept me away. Vader noticed. "He did this to Talia before you," she whispered one day at the coffee machine. She left after 4 months. She couldn't handle it anymore. "Why?" I asked. Vader glanced around before answering. "Dominic only flourishes when he's the smartest person in the room. Anyone who might outshine him becomes a target." I looked up Talia that evening. She'd been highly successful before joining our department. Now she worked at a smaller company in a diminished role. I found others too. Strong performers who had short tenures under Dominic before transferring or resigning. The pattern was undeniable. By month 4, my health was unraveling. Sleep slipped away. Anxiety followed me home every night. My appetite waned. Friends commented on my weight loss and the shadows beneath my eyes. I thought about quitting but couldn't. My mother's progressive illness required costly treatments not fully covered by insurance. My savings were dwindling. I needed this job and its benefits. So I adapted. I documented every interaction with Dominic. I forwarded important emails to my personal account. I recorded meetings when company policy allowed. I built relationships with colleagues in other departments. Most importantly, I kept tracking the production quality issue Dominic had brushed off. The turning point came last week. A system alert flagged anomalies in 3 consecutive production batches, the same pattern I had warned him about. I pulled the data directly, bypassing the filtered reports, and discovered the situation had worsened. This wasn't just a quality concern anymore. It signaled potential consumer safety violations that could prompt regulatory action. I prepared a detailed analysis and requested an urgent meeting with Dominic. He postponed twice before finally agreeing to a brief discussion where he barely skimmed my findings. "We're aware of these variations," he said dismissively. "They're within acceptable limits." "They're not," I argued. "The clustering pattern shows systemic failure. We need to halt production and investigate." His expression darkened. "That would cost millions and panic the board without cause. This stays within the department until we have more data." "But consumers could—" "That's my final decision," he cut in. "Your insistence on this is concerning, Lana. Maybe we should discuss your fit within this team." The threat was unmistakable. The next morning, I received an email scheduling my performance review for 7 a.m. The subject line read, "Comprehensive Performance Evaluation, Mandatory Attendance." The message contained only one line, Early scheduling ensures privacy for what will likely be an emotional conversation. When I showed the email to Vader, her face drained of color. He sent Talia a similar message before she left. That evening, I made my decision. I compiled every document, email, and recording I'd gathered over 6 months. I sorted them into 3 categories: personal harassment, professional, sabotage, and most importantly, the production quality cover-up. After reviewing everything twice, I sent the full package to 3 recipients: the company's legal counsel, the board's ethics committee, and ARA in HR. My message was direct. I believe these documents demonstrate a pattern of behavior that violates company policy and potentially regulations concerning product safety. I'm scheduled for a 7 a.m. performance review tomorrow that I have reason to believe will result in my termination based on falsified performance issues. I request immediate intervention. I sent it at 8:42 p.m. By 9:17, I received a brief reply. Received. Do not discuss with anyone. Attend the meeting as scheduled. That night, I barely slept. I prepared for the worst: unemployment, a damaged reputation, possible retaliation. I rehearsed what I would say when Dominic tried to fire me. I updated my resume and packed my personal belongings in a small bag, ready to leave with dignity. What I didn't prepare for was what actually happened. As I stood in that conference room at 7 a.m., watching Ara hand me that envelope while security positioned themselves near Dominic, I felt something unexpected. Not triumph or relief, but a strange hollowness mixed with validation. The envelope contained a letter acknowledging receipt of my evidence, confirmation that an investigation had begun immediately upon my email's arrival, and, most surprisingly, a temporary reassignment to work directly with the executive team on a special project. "What is the meaning of this?" Dominic demanded, standing so suddenly his chair slid backward. Ara's expression remained professional but unyielding. "Dominic, we need to continue this conversation in my office. Security will escort you." "This is absurd," he sputtered, looking from Ara to me. "Whatever she's told you is fabricated. Her work has been substandard since she arrived. I have documentation." "Yes," she interrupted. "We've reviewed your documentation. We've also reviewed the unaltered originals she provided. The discrepancies are troubling." The color drained from Dominic's face. "You can't possibly—" "We've also received the production quality reports," Ara continued. "Both versions. The board has ordered an immediate shutdown of production line 3 pending investigation." Realization flickered in his eyes. His gaze shifted to me, no longer dismissive, but filled with something new. Fear. "Please proceed to my office," Ara said firmly. "Lana, someone from the executive team will meet you upstairs in 15 minutes. Take a moment if you need it." As security escorted Dominic away, he turned back once. "This isn't over," he muttered, low enough that only I could hear. But looking into his eyes, I knew the truth. It was over for him. If you've ever experienced workplace bullying or seen someone misuse their power, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps bring attention to stories that, too, often stay hidden in professional environments. Click the notification bell to follow more workplace justice stories, because knowing you're not alone can make all the difference when you're fighting an unfair battle. What happened next shocked even me. The investigation revealed patterns I'd never fully understood. Connections that explained Dominic's behavior and consequences that would reshape the entire company. More than anything, it taught me about power, both the kind that destroys and the kind that protects. After security escorted Dominic away, I sat alone in the conference room, hands trembling as I reread the letter, stunned that someone had finally listened. 15 minutes later, the executive director's assistant appeared with a quiet confidence and informed me the board had called an emergency session and wanted me to present my findings directly. 12 hours earlier, I'd prepared for termination. Now I was walking into a room where decisions affecting thousands were made. For 90 minutes, the board pressed me on every detail: my documentation, the production issues, the statistical patterns. When asked why I hadn't come sooner, I simply said I followed protocol. Meredith, the CEO, nodded gravely and admitted her concern was how many others had been silenced before reaching this point. The investigation moved with astonishing speed. By afternoon, Vad and Archer were interviewed. By evening, 6 former employees. 2 days later, the full truth emerged. Dominic kept 2 sets of personnel files, official ones and encrypted private ones containing altered performance metrics, manipulated feedback, and edited meeting recordings. He targeted high-potential employees to push them out, replace them with lower performers, and then slowly improved their metrics to fabricate the illusion of strong leadership. His department's year-over-year improvements had always impressed senior leadership because he had artificially lowered the baseline first. Worse, the production issues I uncovered tied directly to his bonus. He hid quality failures to maintain a perfect record, risking consumer safety for roughly $87,000 a year. 16 employees over 4 years had experienced similar treatment. 4 had filed complaints that mysteriously disappeared. When I asked how this was missed, Meredith's expression hardened. Dominic had protection, a former HR manager who'd been his university classmate. Within a week, everything shifted. Dominic was terminated, the company issued formal apologies, and production line 3 underwent a full reevaluation leading to a costly but necessary recall. I was unexpectedly asked to lead a new quality assurance team reporting directly to the board, bypassing the traditional structure, with my first assignment being a company-wide pattern review. As colleagues approached me, more stories surfaced: false performance plans, quiet threats, manipulated feedback designed to create self-doubt and isolation. Dominic hadn't just targeted rivals. He had engineered an entire culture of vulnerability. 2 weeks later, I met Thalia, one of his earlier victims, at a cafe. She looked stronger than in her company photo, and when she learned the recall traced back to my discovery, she admitted she'd found similar issues years earlier but had been dismissed and eventually pushed out. For the first time, it felt like the truth was finally catching up to him, and the damage he caused was finally being undone. When I brought it to Dominic, he brushed the issues aside. Then my performance reviews suddenly plummeted. I began doubting my own abilities. "That's exactly what he did to me," I said. "I heard you kept records," she replied. "Smart. I wish I had." "It wasn't strategy at first," I admitted. "Just instinct." Thalia smiled. "Well, your instincts changed everything. The company contacted me yesterday with a formal apology and an offer to return, with back compensation for lost bonuses. 4 others received similar calls." I felt a subtle ripple of satisfaction. "Are you considering it?" "Actually, yes. The new management structure sounds promising." She hesitated. "There's something else you should know." After I left, I reported the production quality concerns to the Consumer Protection Agency. My eyes widened. "You did?" Anonymous tip. They opened a preliminary investigation but closed it when they couldn't access internal documents after the voluntary recall. They've reopened the case. The implications hit me. Dominic could face regulatory penalties, not just termination. Exactly. Regulatory violations follow someone forever in this industry. Thalia's expression held no sympathy. Some actions deserve permanent consequences. When I returned to the office, Ara was waiting for me. "We've received notice of a regulatory investigation," she said. "They're specifically requesting all communications from Dominic regarding production quality over the last 3 years." "What does that mean for the company?" I asked. "We're cooperating fully. The voluntary recall strengthens our position. The focus appears to be on individual accountability rather than corporate penalties." She studied my face. You don't seem surprised. I suspected this might happen, I answered honestly. The violations were serious. Well, there's more. The board reviewed our communication protocols after this incident. We're implementing a new anonymous reporting system that bypasses direct supervisors. She handed me a folder. They'd like you to oversee its development. The next few months transform the company culture. The new reporting system flagged 2 other managers with concerning patterns, none as severe as Dominic's. Mandatory training on psychological safety and ethical leadership was rolled out. Most importantly, employees who had left under suspicious circumstances were contacted and offered reconciliation. 3 months after that 7 a.m. meeting, I received an unexpected email from a law firm representing Dominic. He was requesting a letter of reference as part of a settlement negotiation with the company. In exchange, he would drop potential claims of defamation. I forwarded it to legal without replying. Their response came quickly. The company will not provide references nor consider settlement discussions regarding factual reporting of documented misconduct. Later that day, I learned Dominic had taken a position with a smaller competitor in another state, one apparently unaware of the regulatory investigation. 2 weeks later, the regulatory findings became public record. The competitor terminated him immediately. The most meaningful moment came 6 months after that fateful morning. Meredith called me into her office and slid a folder across her desk. The board has approved a new executive position focused on workplace integrity and quality assurance. We'd like you to consider it. The role embodied everything I'd fought for: accountability, transparency, and structured protection against abuses of power. It also came with the resources to create real, lasting change. Why me? I asked. There must be people with more experience. Experience isn't what we need, Meredith replied. We need someone who recognized a systemic problem, documented it methodically, and had the courage to report it despite personal risk. Someone who showed integrity when it mattered most. I accepted the position the next day. 1 year after Dominic scheduled that 7 a.m. meeting, our company received an industry award for ethical leadership. The production line issues had been fully resolved, with enhanced quality control procedures that became the new standard. 5 of Dominic's former targets had returned to the company in advanced roles. As for Dominic, the regulatory penalties included a 5-year industry ban. His professional reputation never recovered. I heard through industry contacts that he eventually took a job far below his qualifications in an unrelated field. The systematic damage he caused to others' careers ultimately became the blueprint for his own downfall. The sweetest part was that I never had to lie, exaggerate, or manipulate. I simply preserved the truth he tried to bury and made sure it reached the people who needed to see it. His own actions did the rest. In my new executive role, I established a mentoring program specifically for employees recovering from workplace trauma. We named it the Phoenix Program, helping people rebuild confidence after having it systematically dismantled. Thalia became one of our first mentors. During a leadership conference where I presented our new ethics framework, someone asked if I felt satisfied with how everything turned out. Justice and revenge aren't the same thing, I answered. I didn't want revenge. I wanted protection. For myself and for others. I wanted accountability. The fact that his own actions led to his downfall wasn't my goal, but it was perhaps the most fitting conclusion. Afterward, a young manager approached me. I'm documenting a similar situation in my department, she whispered. Hearing your story gives me courage. That's when I realized the true impact wasn't just about removing one toxic supervisor. It was about breaking a cycle of silence that protects workplace abusers. It was about creating a blueprint others could follow. The company culture transformed. Employees now share concerns openly, without fear. Managers recognize that building others up, rather than tearing them down, produces better outcomes for everyone. Most importantly, No one begins their day with the dread I endured for those 6 months. The early morning meeting Dominic scheduled to break me became the turning point, not just for my career, but for an entire workplace ecosystem. His words, "Nobody will hear you cry," proved prophetic in a way he never intended. There were no tears that morning, only the sound of justice finally arriving. And it all began because I trusted my instincts enough to document everything, even before I fully understood why. Have you ever witnessed or experienced workplace bullying? How did you respond? The harsh reality is that many people suffer in silence, unsure of their options or afraid of consequences. Share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Your story could give someone else the courage they need. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. We share these real-life experiences because workplace justice matters, and sometimes, seeing someone else stand up to abuse is exactly what we need to find our own courage. Click the notification bell so you never miss upcoming stories about overcoming workplace challenges and reclaiming your professional power. Remember, documentation is your strongest ally. Preserving the truth carefully carries a power that manipulation can never match.